William Byron gets win number 5 in the 9 team. Self-destructs. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, William Byron gets win number 5. That's 5 in a row at Watkins Glen for the Hendrick gang. And he establishes himself as one of the favorites, along with Martin Truex, to get to the Final Four to compete for that title, in my opinion. So even if the playoffs started today, William Byron would be your points leader, even though Martin Truex Jr. is going to probably win the regular season title. We'll get into all of that in a minute. But the interesting thing here is William Byron once again went through the summer slump, but unlike last year when he didn't really break out of it, this year he has broken out of it. Last week he had good speed. He had to do the drive-through penalty, but he still worked his way up into the top 11, top 10 or something like that. So they had speed last week, probably could have contended if it wasn't for that penalty. And this week they don't have the penalty and they get the win in dominating fashion. In fact, the only other person I think that probably had anything for him if the engine hadn't gone sour was probably going to be Michael McDowell. Also, we'll get to that in just a minute. But speaking of championship aspirations, let's take a look at the 9 team.
Was I trying to win?
Oh,
is that ultimately the question? Yeah, I think you answered your own question.
Well, how did you see that as working as the best way for you?
Just try. You can't do the same thing and expect a different result than everybody else, right?
Was it a miscalculation or a fuel line issue?
That's internal stuff. I'm not, I'm not going to go over our internal struggles in the media.
So you saw that right there from Alan Gustafson. He said he was trying to do things to get off cycle, and then he said he wouldn't address the gas situation. So the first part of it, let's talk about that. It was a good idea probably to get off cycle because they didn't qualify as well as they would hope. Now, the second part of it, there was miscommunication between him and the engineer about how many laps you had left in the gas tank on that reserve tank when you flipped to the reserve tank. That cost them any chance they had of throwing the Hail Mary and getting into the playoffs with a win. Now, a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of diehard Chase Elliott fans are calling for Alan Gustafson to be fired. But to be fair, Alan Gustafson is not the reason you're not in the playoffs. A freak snowboarding accident that made you miss 6 races is the reason you're not in the playoffs. Because if you look at the playoff standings on the owner's side of the points, the 9 car is in the playoffs over there. So Alan Gustafson is not the problem. A freak snowboarding accident would be probably what I put my finger on. He's got you a championship. Statistically, last year, y'all had the best season, although the point system that we have now doesn't really reward the best driver who has the best season. But Alan Gustafson's not the problem, but, whatever. Leave it down in the comments if you think he is.
Can you talk to me about that contact that you had with the 3 in the last lap?
Yeah, he was upset. I kind of dive bombed him in the bus stop as I was coming through the pack, and thankfully he left me room because we would have crashed then. And then, a handful of laps later, he got upset exiting the bus stop, and I had to run and just nudged him a little bit up off the bottom, and I guess that really ticked him off. So he got into me in turn 10, and I really honestly wasn't even trying to crash him in the last corner. I was just trying to maintain leverage into the final corner there, and got in hot and hit him and crashed. So just a frustrating result to what was going to be a good day.
So that right there from the front stretch, of course, that being the other drama, Austin Dillon and Kyle Larson going for 20th, throwing kamikazes. He said it wasn't on purpose. I kind of believe that because it just looked like he was trying to get in there, and he got in there too hot and wrecked himself, and then ended up wrecking Austin Dillon as well. Corey LaJoie got a 2-for-1 there as he finished off the Kyle Larson wreck by getting into the back of him. So it is what it is. People are going to make something out of it because it's, Kyle Larson, but at the end of the day, he didn't do it on purpose. There was no retaliation. You got to understand Austin Dillon's frustration, too. He's had a terrible year. So just another one. The funniest part of that whole deal was the big thumbs up from both guys. So that part was funny. All right, let's get into good race, bad race, and the points. Good race, of course, for William Byron. Win number 5 on the season. Denny Hamlin continues his momentum in a second-place finish. Christopher Bell with a third-place finish, also continuing his good momentum. He's 4th in regular points. We'll get to that in just a minute. A.J. Allmendinger, they needed this run. 4th-place finish. Didn't get the win they were looking for, but a good finish. Good momentum for that team. Ty Gibbs with a 5th-place finish. Good run for him. He gained some points, but not enough. He's still probably going to need to win to get into the playoffs. Martin Truex Jr. continues his second half of the season streak, being the most consistent driver for sure. Chris Buescher with the 7th place continues that RFK momentum. Tyler Reddick, a good run there in 8th place. And his teammate Bubba Wallace said he was most proud of this performance on a road course of any performance he's ever had. So good run for 23-11 there. Ryan Blaney there in 9th place. Joey Logano in 10th. Todd Gilliland 11th. Bubba Wallace just mentioned in 12th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., really good road course race for him in 13th. And Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski round out your top 15. All right, it was a bad race for Michael McDowell. The engine expired. He probably had a car fast enough to at least contend with William Byron, you would think. Chase Briscoe, they couldn't get the right rear tire off. The lug nut welded on. So once again, we see another issue with the lug nut. Not as frequent as it was the season before, but still an issue apparently. And then you see Chase Elliott, who of course ran out of gas, finishes 32nd. Austin Dillon's terrible season continues. And let's see here. Kyle Larson, who was also involved in that wreck, finishes 26th. Here are your regular season points. Martin Truex Jr., as long as he doesn't have a terrible day and Denny Hamlin wins like 2 stages and the race at Daytona, Martin Truex Jr. is going to be your regular season champion. You see the top 5 there: Truex, Hamlin, Byron, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson. All right, now on to what everybody's talking about. If it ended today, William Byron would be your playoff points leader with 5 wins. Martin Truex Jr. would be second as the regular season champion, then so on and so forth. But here's where it gets interesting. The cutoff line. Bubba Wallace gets in right now as the last man in. But if anybody below Bubba Wallace, of course, wins at Daytona, Bubba Wallace gets bumped. And, of course, the other story, Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski locked in on points. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, would love to have your subscription. If you're already subscribed, you know I appreciate you guys as well. If you have a question, comment, or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section. I try to get to as many of them as I can. And if you want to help out the store, check out the merch website. The link is in the description. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.